Okay, I think we should start, right?
Yeah, let's do this. Aladin, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can briefly present myself, like also I look just for blind and low vision people. So I'm sitting in front of a white background. Sorry, I'm wearing a black shirt. I have brown hair, brown eyes, and I'm white and I have a light skin. I'm badly shaved and I have a characteristic mole on my right cheek. I turn it to you, Paige.
All right, awesome. Hi, everyone. We're so excited to be here. My name is Paige Mulhern, and I am the creative director of the Best Bees Company. Before I talk a little about that, I will also give a brief description. I'm a Caucasian woman with light skin, short, dirty blondish brownish hair, glasses. I'm wearing a beige button up, and I'm in a light-filled apartment. Really happy to be here. So the Best Bees Company is a beekeeping service. We take care of honeybees across the US, from New York to San Francisco, all amazing cities. What brings us here to celebrate the rapid response for a better digital future is that the honeybees that we take care of aren't just honey yielding, they're also data yielding. Um, so that is what really connected us, and brought us here to discuss. So I'm really excited to introduce my colleague, Shay. Shay joined the discussion a little after planning, so their bio was not read initially. So I'm really excited to introduce Shay and have them talk about themselves. They are our head beekeeper at Best Bees. So Shay.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shay. I'm the head beekeeper at the Best Bees Company. And very quickly, I'll give a brief description. I am a white non-binary person. I have brown hair and wear clear glasses, clear framed glasses, and I'm wearing a dark green flannel. I'm sitting in front of some bright windows, so a lot of light behind me. So my role at the Best Bees Company involves overseeing the management of all of our New England beehives. Part of that management is helping determine what sort of data we're collecting for each of our beehives.
Yeah. So we're really excited to talk about this idea of bees and data and how that connects to the Intimacy Project. So one of the questions that we were looking forward to deep diving is what information as beekeepers is going to be the most useful when it comes to developing new technologies. So if we think about our current relationship with bees and our duties to take care of them and make sure they thrive, and from an individual hive level, but to across the whole world, how do we make sure we protect our pollinators? What tools and what data is going to be the most useful to collect? So I'd love to kind of start that discussion between all three of us, Aladin and Shay. What data are you most interested in at this juncture in your beekeeping journey?
Yeah, I mean, the data I collected for the project are really broad and really wide, and mostly data developed by university labs around the world. So they are not data that we can gather easily as beekeeper in the first place. They are like basically the prototype of what could one day maybe be used by beekeepers. So the platform really works as an archive of this, and as an archive, then we offer the possibility to go and dive in it and understand like how the future of beekeeping could look like. But at the same time, as a beekeeper, I was doing this ethnography and researching how this technology was coming and what a beekeeper would need. And maybe we can start with I can start a bit with the status of the current smart hive, or we could call them like electronic monitored hives, because basically, I mean, since beekeepers have been keeping bees, I think they try to monitor the beehives in any possible way open to them. For simply sitting next to a beehive and observe what's happening, to use mechanic scale, or to listen to them, actually, just to listen to the noise they're creating, which is maybe, I would dare, maybe it's daring, but I would say maybe it's the first way we actually monitored bees, is actually just simply to listen to what's happening inside. However, today, and quite recently, ubiquitous and sensing technology are coming into the game and making their way into our beehives. Maybe we can just historically situate this contextually. So the first electronic device that was properly built to monitor honeybees was actually a sort of a weird tool called the Apidictor. And this was developed by a sound engineer at the BBC called Edward Woods in the 1952 exactly. And this tools was trying to record the sound that the queen is making before swarming. So trying to get cues to prevent swarming and to help beekeepers to be able to react quickly or even to act before it happens. And from that, smart hives or electronic hives really slowly evolved. And I think we can situate the first model in the 90s approximately. And since then, it has been built in collaboration with university. And I think there were another big leap more recently when they started to use different neural network to actually just not only gather data, but also analyze data and kind of pre-analyze the data for the beekeepers. And working with beekeepers and seeing what the technology offers so far, it mostly offers the possibility of having your hive on a scale, so to record the difference in the weight of the hive. That would help to know when they collect honey, but that could also help to know different type of blooming season, for example. But we also have temperature or humidity sensor into the hive. I mean, all beekeeper knows that humidity is a big question when it comes to bees. They really don't like humidity, and also more and more microphones, like kind of stemming from the idea of woods to be able to get some cues from their sound. And we know that now we can not only know if a swarm is coming, but we can also detect some disease through the noise a colony makes, or maybe even more telling for beekeepers, like if a beehive is queenless, then you directly hear it with your own ear. You don't need any technology for that. And all of these sensors are getting together and gathering data, which is then giving access for beekeeper on a web platform and being analyzed by this algorithm. But this is also really the beginning, and I'm really interested to know also how our best bee or our Shay, like what would you need or what would make sense for you to add, or if using already any of these sensor of this data.
Yeah, so you mentioned sound, and I think that's a fascinating topic, because there's so much we can learn from what we're hearing from the bees. You mentioned like being able to predict swarms, being able to predict if a colony is queenless. But there's other things like understanding the age distribution of the bees in the hive, which is really interesting to me, that they can run at different frequencies depending on how old they are. So it really gives you a full view of what's going on in the colony. I also think that visual cues are really important in a colony, something that you would probably just do during a normal beehive check if you're going in and managing the hive yourself. But if you're away from the hive, how can we see what's happening in the hive, and like what can that tell us, or help us track information that we can't see every single day. So one of the things that I found interesting on the archives that you've been compiling here is a visual tracking system for Varroa mite, as this is a very big killer for our honeybees. So having something that could really track the Varroa mites during the times that we're not visiting the hives is quite literally a lifesaver.
Yeah, maybe I can show this video actually to the audience, so to contextualize a bit, so they can understand what I'm talking about. So let me share my screen and just shout if it's not working, but it should be fine.
Yeah, it's super fascinating.
Yeah, so here, it's on this video you can see honeybees crawling through a dark space, which basically is a tunnel put in front of the hive and equipped with a camera. The camera records the entrance of the hive, and with the help of an algorithm, it can count the Varroa mites directly on the back of the bees. So on the video, you can see colorful dots popping on the bees, which is when the algorithm is identifying a bee. So it can say if the bee is crawling on its back or crawling on its belly. And you can also see a counter on the top left going up with the bees and also with the Varroa mites. And when the algorithm is spotted a Varroa mite, there's this red square appearing, which is quite characteristic of machine vision, the idea of machine vision we have, I think, nowadays. And this setup aims to monitor the infestation level of Varroa mites inside a colony, and it was developed by a team of researchers at Aarhus University in Denmark and generously provided by Kim Breghe and Berg Krieger, and I would like to thank them for that.
Yeah.
Just told me you couldn't see the video, but could you see it?
I saw it for a few minutes, a few moments.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, when we're talking about the context of the Best Bees Company as well, and advancing these technologies, it's just super interesting to think of how these sensors could bring us closer to just a more efficient beekeeping practice. So I think there's often this misunderstanding or this idea that more technology will kind of distance ourselves from the beings themselves, from the bees, and sort of compromise that relationship that we have with the bees. But I think it's an interesting fact that we can then actually create a more trust and more bond with the bees when we know exactly how to intervene. So yeah, I would love to sort of ask you both, and hence the name of your project, Aladin, how can we maintain intimacy with the honeybees as beekeepers as we experience all of these changes and all of these advances in technology? How do we remain that human to nature connection that is so important and that draws people to bees in the first place?
Do you want to start, Shay, or?
Sure. So for me, I know that entering a beehive is a disturbance. It's putting their lives on pause momentarily, so then you can go and inspect the colony and make sure that they're getting the attention that they need. And I could see this sort of technology bringing us closer because it would allow us to enter these hives with a lot more intention and a lot more focus. So we're not having to go in too often and disturbing them often. But we're just going in just enough so we can act as shepherds to these bees that already know how to live. They already know what they should be doing for themselves, and we're just here to guide them. So I think in a way that technology can help us be better beekeepers and therefore build more trust and connection between the bees and ourselves.
Yeah, I think it's really this two side of this technology that struck me when I started to investigate and to research about it. First, as starting beekeeping, I was like, I don't want to stop opening the hive because it is while I'm doing beekeeping, right? I like in a certain point, like the experience and the intimacy that you gain by just simply spending time with such a different species than us. For me, it's fundamental in the practice of beekeeping. And then this technology is a one-point sell by saying that it will be save time for beekeepers, so being less time consuming. But at the same time, I believe that this time that beekeepers spend in the apiary is vital for what we know about bees and how we carry this historic relationship with them that is also vital for our survival at all. And then, but at the same time, then getting some experience, as you say perfectly, you realize the disturbance that actually simply opening a beehive creates. Like they do seal the roof, they do put propolis everywhere, they make their home safe, and cozy. And then we arrive, we open it, and we destroy part of their work, and we dig into it just to reassure ourselves, basically, most of the time, because most of the time everything is perfectly fine. And so this idea that technology could help to be less disturbing was, I thought, what should be underlined and what should be focused for this technology. But so far, I have the feeling that, and also what stemmed from my ethnography, is that it's mostly based on the idea of managing the colony better and being sure that you produce enough honey, or that you are efficient, basically. And it's why I built the intimacy machine, like in reaction to that as well, to think like, it's not only about efficiency, it's not only about producing honey, it's obviously about taking care of them, being careful about certain disease. And if this technology can bring like a better treatment for Varroa mites, for example, as we saw like this type of technology, like the video I showed that I think was a bit cut, but basically it's the idea of giving the possibility to count the number of mites in a beehive, and knowing that you can know that, oh, I should do the treatment there because the number of Varroa is really high. And yeah, I should say that this technology is not available yet, and it's also all the idea of the platform. It's to work with these labs and university that develop them, and like to think it beforehand, before they launch into the market and being used by beekeepers. So yeah, it's about how can we think this, and how can we design them in a way that's not only take our needs into account, but also the needs of bees. And but how can we know the needs of bees as we live in worlds that are probably most different that we can imagine on Earth? Like, bees are definitely from outer space. If you start to learn how they behave, like how they see the world, and like, you know, through pheromones mostly, and like also to electromagnetic fields, as Eza told us in his beautiful poems. And like, so, but for that we need this technology, because we are giant creature opening the hive, and we cannot dig and dive into it without disturbing them. So we need to find specific technology that allows us to learn about their world. And it's why the intimacy machine is really focused on this idea of collaborating with universities that develop this knowledge, and creating the possibility of giving access to this knowledge to beekeepers, and to also makers of this technology.
I think it's so funny to think about what bees think of us as humans. The way you just described it, they're so advanced. And I think that, you know, all these research projects that are happening across the world are attempts to get on their level, to really understand like the things that we cannot know. So that really struck me. That's really beautiful. And I look forward to accessing more information on the intimacy machine, and as a beekeeper, incorporating it into my practice. And yeah, it's really wonderful work.
Thanks. Don't know. Yeah, maybe I can just talk a little bit about also one really important point at the beginning of the project, which was this idea of intimacy without proximity. And this stemmed from, it was coined by a researcher called Jacob Metcalf, who, while studying grizzly bear, realized the importance of not proximity. And when it makes a lot of sense when you study giant bears that can eat you alive, it's another question when it comes to bees, because we are more disturbing than they are to us. Obviously, the sting is a bit painful, but yeah, we got used to it as a beekeeper, and we realized that we are the main disturbance in the apiary. And I think I could maybe conclude on his quotes, that I think the quotes from his paper that summarize this quite well. It's like he says, on the one hand, both the science of ecology and the global nature of environmental problems demand an ethics founded of the unity of all life. On the other hand, the very entities to which our moral obligations refer are often best cared for through a separation from most human activities. Yeah, I don't know if you want to roll on that, but yeah, it was really nice to exchange with you and to learn also what you do at Best Bees. And yeah, thank you very much for that, at least.
Shay, do you have any reaction to the idea of intimacy and proximity as a beekeeper, and then how you see either utilizing the intimacy machine or concepts like this as a beekeeper moving forward?
Yeah, it's definitely a very grounding and peaceful experience to work on a beehive. And I think there is a tendency to kind of take advantage of how it makes us feel, and to do it too often. So I think being able to still feel that closeness through visuals, through sound, through smells, that this tech can provide us is going to help us keep that connection without, jeopardizing our relationship with them.
We're probably out of time. I don't know. If someone kept an eye on the clock, I didn't, but yeah.
Oh, that was amazing, y'all. That was really, really great.
Thanks.
I've always thought about bees as being these really sort of purpose-driven, complex societies, and so much of sort of y'all helped me understand the science behind my thinking in that way. So thank you so much for this conversation. It was really, really rich.